Capitol Report is a production of Senate Media Services.
Almost $19 billion will be invested over the next 2 years to support Minnesota's students. We'll find out how that money will be spent, what more should be done, and details on teacher licensing. Stay tuned for this and more on this week's Capitol Report. Now that summer's here, no one really wants to think about school starting again next fall. However, Governor Dayton recently signed the E-12 Education Finance Bill, which spends almost $19 billion over the next 2 years. Joining me in the studio to talk about the bill is Chairwoman of the E-12 Finance Committee, Senator Carla Nelson. Welcome.
Great to be here, Shannon.
You've been very generous with your time over session. You visited me and talked about education policy. Here you are again with the education bill signed into law. What are you most excited about?
Well, one, that we have a very robust education bill. Number one, we put 2% increase on the formula each year of the biennium, of the upcoming biennium. That's 6% total increase on the per pupil formula. That's what our school districts asked for. That's what teachers needed. That's what students need. It's the most flexible of funding. It treats all students fairly, and it goes right to the classroom where our students are. So, and that's a costly item. That was about $371 million just to increase that. But I'm very glad about that. I'm also very glad that we really focused on our earliest learners, those 4-year-olds, making sure they're ready for kindergarten when they get there. And we did it in a very broad way, which provides the greatest flexibility for parents and also the private market. We have a private market that's serving 4-year-olds now, and it also supports our school-based 4-year-old model as well. In fact, this is called the Minnesota Early Learning Model, where we target scholarships to those kids most at need and for flexible use in a mixed delivery system. It's called the Minnesota Early Learning Model, and it's being touted all over the nation for its success. And I'm glad that we were able to build upon that model and invest in our earliest learners this year as well. And
so that model, then, some money is going for scholarships, some money is going to a program called School Readiness Plus, some money is going for Governor Dayton's pre-kindergarten,
voluntary pre-K,
pre-K. And some money is going to Head Start. So there's a variety of streams to meet those students wherever they are needed. Yes,
and every 4-year-old's need is not the same. Neither is every community's need the same. So we have this mixed delivery model depending upon an individual student's need and, of course, the communities, what type of resources they have. And so we have invested very wisely in that, and we do know how important it is that kids are ready for kindergarten when they get there.
Absolutely. One provision that maybe caused a little bit of controversy were changes to LIFO, which has been that last in, first out when school districts have to make cutbacks to staff. The newer teachers have been let go before the veteran teachers. Why do you support this change?
Well, what we have in the education bill, which the governor signed and also supported, is what's called the LIFO Light. In other words, it's a very common sense, slimmed down version of something that Senator Terry Bonoff carried a couple of years ago. Our current state law says that if a school district and its union representation do not come to agreement on what to do with non-voluntary teacher layoffs, then the automatic fallback is this LIFO position. So the last teacher who signed the contract for the school district is the first one to leave. People have realized how difficult that is for many reasons. It doesn't give school districts the flexibility to determine what to do in those difficult situations and what will be best for students. I'm from a school district where at one point we were needing to lay off teachers, and it got down to not just the date that the teacher signed the contract, but the time of day that the contract was signed. That is not the best way to determine which teachers are best going to fill the needs of our students. So the version that is passed now just simply states it really empowers school districts and their union representations. So if they just have to come to an agreement, whatever that agreement is, and how best to lay off teachers if that is needed, that's an agreement they need to make. So it empowers local educators.
And it's a negotiation then between the district and the union.
Yes, and the reason it's so important is because, one, teachers are the most critical in-school variable that we control. A teacher is the one critical value in determining a student's success. And then secondly, all parents realize they want whatever teacher is going to be the best for them, for their student in the classroom. And then, you know, we have a severe teacher shortage. And you can imagine the high cost of a 4-year degree or even a 5-year teaching degree, and then for these young teachers to get in a district only to be the first one let go, and then they start in a new district and they're the first one let go. And we're finding students are just not willing to invest significant sums of money and their educational time for a situation in which they're not retained based upon the work they do. So we were kind of pitting our most veteran teachers against our newest teachers, and we don't need to do that. What we did do with the LIFO Light provision is we gave flexibility and local control to the local school districts and the union representation to figure out what's going to be best for those districts.
Well, let's turn to some new programs, some new things that are part of this bill. One of them is the Rural Career and Technical Education Consortium, which is a mouthful,
yes.
Abbreviated CTE. But can you explain how this will work?
Sure. It's a public-private partnership aimed at really filling the need, the growing need we see for workforce in career and tech ed. Not necessarily a 4-year college degree for every student, but what we're finding is we need a lot of skilled labor, a lot of career and tech ed labor, and so this really gets to that in targeted areas in different quadrants of the state. So these public-private partnerships working together to provide education, a high school education that provides career and technical education as well as high school credits. We have an example in Rochester that is called C-Tech, which is just remarkable in that students are getting training from chefs. There's a veterinary science lab there. There's a whole mechanics lab and an industrial lab. And so the students are getting trained from professionals in the field as well as their high school teachers, and they come out both with their high school credits as well as the career tech ed credentials. And we're looking for stackable credentials. We want to get more of our students trained for the jobs that exist.
And so then these are programs then aren't not necessarily for the college-bound student, but for people who, when they finish high school, just want to get to work and get to work in a good job.
Some
Yeah.
are for kids just like that, and some are for college-bound kids.
Okay.
So it's a very broad spectrum, but again, we are expanding educational opportunities for our high school students.
Does this mean that students are maybe having to make career choices even sooner than they used to have to do?
Oh, that's a good question, Shannon. It's hard to tell. Certainly there are more opportunities and there are more paths to follow. So perhaps students would feel they need to make those decisions earlier, although I don't think that's the intent. I think the intent is to make sure that every student is getting the education they need to prepare them for the jobs that exist tomorrow that they could fill.
Well, and then they're also not going into huge debt, which is a big plus.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota has the 4th or 5th highest student debt levels in the nation. Mm-hmm. So this is a great fit for many kids, and it's really great for our workforce as well.
Let's talk for a moment about agriculture educator grants. Who will receive these and how does that work?
Well, if you think about it, our ag educators are not always teaching with students when agriculture is its most active. And so the agriculture educator grants allow school districts to apply for that extra grant money so that students can actually be in class with their instructor when the crops are really growing in the field. So it's really that just-in-time learning. It's being there when it's happening and making sure that we have our instructors there.
So the real-world experience versus the classroom experience.
Right, which does not necessarily occur. Most of our agricultural growth and productivity does not occur from September to May. The agriculture season is really in the summertime, and we want to make sure our students are able to participate in that with their teachers.
One more thing I'd like to talk about. I believe it was your bill, to provide educational stability for kids in foster care so that they can stay in their home school while they're experiencing other instability in their life.
Yes.
What was the real impetus for this?
Well, of course, my experience in the Rochester Public Schools, and I was a Title I teacher, and we would see kids who were already experiencing stress because they're in a foster home. Something's happened to their mother or father, and they're in a foster home. And then when something happens in the middle of the school year and that student needs to go to a new foster home, how difficult it was to see a student uprooted from maybe the one stability piece in their life, which was their classroom, where they had already been part of a classroom, and then to get uprooted in the middle of the school year is just another stress at a very stressful time for kids. And so the Olmsted County Public Service and the Rochester Public Schools were willing to work on a program to look at how can we best help these students maintain the most stability they can in these stressful times. And this is a pilot program. It's a grant. I'm hoping, I know Olmsted County will apply, others may as well. But again, it's really trying to align our resources to really give kids stability in these very stressful times.
Senator Nelson, there's so much good stuff in this bill, and I want to thank you for your time today.
Great. It went very quickly. We have much more to talk about. It's a great bill,
Shannon. You can come back.
All right. Thank you.
While Governor Dayton did sign the tax bill and all of the budget bills following the special legislative session, he sparked a constitutional controversy by line item vetoing funding for the legislature. Lawmakers met Friday, June 2nd to consider their options.
He didn't dissolve the legislature. Let's not engage in hyperbole. He defunded us. We're perfectly capable of meeting without getting paid. He turned these same exact tactics against you, and now you object to these tactics. They're the ones that you've employed all session, and I would think that you shouldn't be all that surprised that they're being employed by the chief executive that you employed those tactics against.
All 5 of the issues that he objected to, we did agree to. That didn't mean that he was favorable towards them, but in the give and take of what we were doing, those were all accepted. Full disclosure, looking through them as they were. And as we moved into this phase, I have sought to find a possible off-ramp not to go this direction. I know you have as well. But not to the 5 that we already agreed to, but perhaps something else. But we couldn't find that. And so in the end, it really left us no choice but to move forward with this step for legal action. And this is not a place we want to be, but for us, this is not an issue of Democrats versus Republicans, but the governor versus the House and Senate. We really see no other option or no other thing, but this is unconstitutional.
The governor may have gotten pressure on the things that he negotiated. He may not like some of the things that he agreed to because of pressure from outside groups. I don't know exactly what's going on, but now the governor wants to change his mind, and he doesn't want to follow through with things that he had agreed to. So saying the governor didn't see this language, he absolutely did. He had his constitutional right to veto those bills if he didn't like the language that was in them. He chose not to do that. He signed them. I can glean from that he agreed with those bills because he put his signature on those bills. And I frankly think that in St. Paul, your word has to mean something. And I would love to sit down with the governor, but I will not sit down with the governor and renegotiate something he already agreed to. I would love to sit with him. I'll sit with him today. I'll sit with him tomorrow. I'll sit with him every day until we have this resolved. But I'm going to sit with him to work out how do we get back to what you agreed to? How do we make set up a situation where you can keep your word, Governor? And I think that's the situation here. What we did is put language into a bill to ensure that if he did decide to veto the tax bill, which, by the way, he had agreed to the tax bill, if he did decide to veto that bill, which he did a year ago, remember, when he vetoed the most bipartisan, broadly supported tax bill ever vetoed by a governor, and he did that after he said he supported it. So we felt it necessary that if he decided to veto a bill that he had agreed to, that if he decided to do that, there was some ramification.
On Tuesday, Governor Dayton sent a letter to the caucus leaders inviting them to meet to continue negotiations over their remaining differences. Governor Dayton signed the E-12 education finance bill into law despite calls from the teachers union and other groups for him to veto the bill. Senator Chuck Wiger, former education chairman, voted against the bill and now joins me in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
With a budget surplus of more than $1.6 billion, in your view, was enough money directed towards E-12 education in this bill?
No.
And what more would you like to see?
I thought the governor outlined an excellent budget for education. He would have invested over $700 million, not only the 2 and 2 on the formula, but to continue with the pre-K 4 program, as well as many other initiatives for the cross-subsidy on special education, which school districts have said, please give us additional assistance on that for the cross-subsidy special ed. The pre-K 4 would have been at $175 million. That's what the governor had. I fully supported that. More for American Indian education programs, full-service community schools. Would be some examples. We had additional funding. Senator Kent had one for counselors. There's still that need. It's great that we are making some improvements, but we need to do more. So the governor laid out an impressive budget with over $700 million in investment. And when you look at the scope of things, under $500 million, that's a lot of money, but compared to how much we had, and it's the #1 priority, students. It's our future workforce, so I would have invested in our future, in our students, and would have gone $700 million plus, as the governor had outlined, and that's his role as our state leader.
You called the provision that makes changes to LIFO, or the last in, first out, the way decisions have traditionally been made to lay off newer teachers in favor of veteran teachers, yes, a poison pill. The Republicans argue that it's giving more control to the local districts to negotiate with the teachers union. Why do you oppose this change?
Okay. Oppose it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's already negotiable. So the argument that this gives more local control, the state statute says it is negotiable. Some districts have already negotiated provisions. Others may do if they want. It's local control. The school board is elected by the people, and it's up to them. So to act like this is a new power is misleading. It's already negotiable. The seniority provision is a default in the event that there is not agreement as to what will be done. If you're going to have a layoff due to budget reasons, then you have unrequested leave. Concerns have been raised as to what exactly is the reason going to be, and if you negotiate this now where it's going to be a mandate at the level, you won't have this fallback, and that's of concern. I raised a question on the floor. What if, obviously, a district's going to try to save money, and a more experienced teacher costing more than 50 or 60, 70,000, who's probably over 40 or 50 years old, if you find out that you could hire 2 and for the same amount. Don't tell me that a district might not think of that. There wasn't an opportunity at this when this was presented at the end to even offer amendments. But what mostly troubled me about this was the lack of transparency. There was a bill introduced in the Senate. I believe Senator Housley had it. And I addressed this on the Senate floor. Not once was it even in the conversation for a bill hearing. And I believe that they talked about this as being reform. Really? This is reform? When you have a bill introduced, you don't even hear it in committee. It was not in the omnibus package that the Senate passed. Moreover, in the conference committee, there were no hearings on this at all.
So you're objecting in part also to the process,
Totally
then?
To the process. Lights off, and people were excluded. And in a time where we're talking about trying to bolster the morale of teachers, to recruit more teachers, to get them interested, to say, we appreciate what you're doing, this sends the wrong signal to not even be involved in this in a meaningful way. And as a conferee, I was not involved, and even though I was on the conference committee, these were hashed out by the respective chairs or at other levels. And so we basically just got the news, this is the way it's going to be. It's a reform measure. No hearing, no public discussion, game over. And that was what many of us found as wrong, to abuse the legislative process by having something that did not have the light of day in terms of discussion.
Does this bill go far enough to address the teacher shortage and increase teachers of color in the classroom in Minnesota?
No, it doesn't go far enough. First, because it had the opportunity to provide more resources in the governor's budget with the surplus. We could have done more for incentives for persons of color, for scholarship programs. There are different programs that we have in place, but we could do much more. And the governor has laid out initiatives. The Senate DFL has offered a number of proposals in the past, and there's been bipartisan discussion. But when you limit your funds to what was ultimately agreed to, you aren't going to be able to do as much, whether it's in early education or in recruitment of more teachers. So more could have been done. It was a lost opportunity. Some things were done, but we could have done more, and that'll be a continued challenge for us.
Senator Wiger, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Last week, I had the opportunity to talk with the chair of the E12 Policy Committee, Senator Eric Pratt, about the changes to Minnesota's teacher licensing system passed as part of the omnibus education bill during the recent special legislative session. I began by asking him to describe some of the key changes.
First of all, let's talk about why we made the changes. Back in 2016, the legislative auditor reviewed our teacher licensure system and really came up with three main recommendations. First of all, that it wasn't very transparent. When teachers went to apply, they really didn't have a good sense of what was required. The second was that we had our governance split between the Department of Education and the Board of Teaching. And the third was that some of our statutes were out of line and not very consistent. So the teacher licensure bill really tries to address all three of those. The first thing we do is we cleaned up our statutes to make sure that we use consistent terms, and we reorganized them so they're easier to follow. Second, we created a new Board of Teaching that we call the Professional Educators Licensing and Standards Board. You'll often hear it called PELSB.
Okay.
And so they will be handling the licensure, consolidating what was at MDE with the Board of Teaching into one entity. That's important because we want to make it accountable fully throughout the process. And all the directors will continue to be appointed by the governor, so there'll be a direct line of accountability back to the governor's office. The third piece was to establish a tiered licensure system, and this was a recommendation by the legislative auditor. And so we went through and we looked at how could we segregate our teachers' license, or stratify our teacher licenses in such a way that they made sense, not only for people to enter the profession and make the profession more accessible without reducing quality, but to get applicants to move, say, from a lesser license to a more professional license. And so the idea was to create a flow.
Okay, and so this flow, as I understand it, there are 4 different tiers. Can you just briefly describe how those different tiers work?
Sure. Our Tier 1 license, well, let me work backwards. Our Tier 4 license is the standard license that we've always had.
Okay.
And so all of our existing teachers will fall into the professional Tier 4. Tier 1 is really very similar to what we have with our community expert waivers today, in that a district can ask to have a community expert come into the classroom, and we have hundreds across the state of Minnesota today. What was lacking was really defining what we want in a community expert, and particularly when you start talking about career and technical education. And so where before you could hire almost anybody off the street and get them a waiver, today we say that they have to have an associate's degree, or they have to have 5 years experience in the field or some sort of certification. And if you need a teacher in the classroom, just a regular core class, that they have to have a bachelor's degree, and then if they're going to teach for more than 1 year, they have to be able to pass the content level exam that all of our other teachers have to pass. And they also participate in our district's mentoring and the teacher development evaluation process. All of those pieces are new, where before there was hardly any rules or guidelines around what was required for community expert.
So it sounds like these are creating, it's creating clarity then for people both in the know and people on the outside to understand who these teachers are and what they're qualified to do.
Right. We want them to understand exactly what they're qualified for, exactly what they're getting into. But we don't want teachers to stay at Tier 1. And so we created a Tier 2 licensure, which maybe is kind of like a learner's permit, so to speak.
Okay.
This is where you'll have teachers that are enrolled in a teacher prep program and able to be in the classroom and building a portfolio while they're going through their teacher prep program. Might be a traditional program through one of our universities. It might be an alternative program like Teach for America, or some of our districts are doing some great things with a program they call Grow Your Own, where they're taking, say, paraprofessionals and which are fairly low-paid positions and helping them actually define a career in teaching with the kids they're already working with.
So it's real-world experience that they're getting with the classroom, and then also, and they're getting some credit for that. They're getting a teacher licensure spot for that.
And the goal is that when they finish that Tier 2 license, and they can be in there for, I believe it's 6 years, once they complete that program, they can move on to a Tier 3 license, which is very similar to what we have as our initial license. So new college graduates come in, they would get a Tier 3 license. Now what I'm really excited about is the fact that we've made Minnesota more accessible to out-of-state teachers. I've often
And that was a problem, yes.
And that was a problem, and it's a problem being faced by many of our greater Minnesota school districts, where they can't hire a teacher that's got experience in North or South Dakota or Iowa. And in fact, my mom ran into that back in the 70s when we moved here. She had a teaching license in 4 different states. She had taught in Iowa, Nebraska, California, and Illinois. But when she got to Minnesota, she couldn't get a teaching license with 14 years of experience. This will allow her to come in without having to go back to the classroom and prove that she's got the knowledge and the skills. I think the biggest change that I like to think of is that the Board of Teaching looked at your qualifications based on the classes you took. They looked at your transcript. This new process, this new licensure system will look at your skills and experience as much as your transcript. And so I think it evens the playing field a little bit.
A lot of what you've said points to how these changes will help with the teacher shortage. There's also a problem in Minnesota with the workforce, the teaching workforce, lacking the diversity that we see in the classroom. How will this help with the diversity piece?
Well, many of the alternative programs, Teach for America, and particularly the Grow Your Own, are centered in the urban Minneapolis-St. Paul right now. And they are training a new diverse teacher population. And so my hope is that it will encourage more diverse populations, people of color, to enter the teaching profession and to be seen as role models for that next generation.
Senator Pratt, you've carried some big bills this session, and I want to thank you for taking the time to come and explain the details.
Well, thank you.
Join us again next week as we delve into more topics affecting Minnesotans. I'm Shannon Loehrke, and on behalf of all of us at Senate Media Services, thanks for watching.